Ah, when the night threatened to swallow all light, she found the spark within. Evelyn pressed her forehead against the cold window pane, eyes tracing the hazy blur of streetlights below. Rain hammered the glass in frantic staccato, as though the sky were trying to claw its way in. In that moment, she felt smaller than ever, a single fragile flicker trying to hold her ground against an immense storm. She had come to this city chasing a dream, to build something meaningful, to carve her name into something bigger than her doubts. In her hometown, she was the girl who dawdled in corners, who watched others shine, and wondered if perhaps she'd be left behind. But she believed fiercely in possibility. That belief had brought her here. At first, things went well. She got a modest apartment, shared by two other hopeful souls. She landed a job at a small creative agency doing menial tasks, fetching coffee, cleaning up drafts, anything to get a foot in. Nights she spent sketching, writing, planning. She whispered promises to herself in the dark. You will matter. You will make this count. Among the two roommates was Jonah, a silent, gentle man who moved like he'd always been carrying something heavy. He'd come from a broken family, a haunted childhood, but in his eyes was a quiet resilience that drew Evelyn in. Over time, they confided in each other. She about her fear of failure, he about his fear of never being good enough. One evening, Evelyn's sketches were rejected by the agency. They said they didn't fit their vision. She curled into a ball in their shared living room, trembling with the anger and pain of rejection. Her throat ached from uncried sobs. Jonah sat beside her, silent, offering only his presence. In her darkest moment, a familiar voice rattled her. Maybe you weren't meant for this. Maybe you should just go back. The voice threatened to suffocate her hope, but Jonah put his hand over hers. Don't quit, he said simply. That was all, but it was everything. She barely slept. She questioned the choices she'd made. But as dawn came, she forced herself to open her sketchbook again. She reworked, rethought. She showed her designs to Jonah. He listened, offered a few small suggestions. She sent them off to another studio she admired, one she thought was beyond her reach. Meanwhile, Jonah was battling his own demons. He'd lost his father years ago, never had closure. He'd buried pain with distance and silence, but the wound never healed. One afternoon, he disappeared without saying a word. Evelyn came home to find an empty apartment and a note. I can't. Not yet. Her anxiety spiraled. She searched his favorite hiding places, called his old contacts, asked around the neighborhood. She found him one night on a rooftop, perched at the edge, staring down at the city's lights flickering like distant stars. She climbed up beside him, hands shaking. He looked at her, eyes hollow. You don't understand how heavy this is, he whispered. She swallowed her fear and said, You don't have to carry it alone. I'm here. I believe in you, even when you can't. She reached for his hand. He recoiled, then didn't pull away. She stayed. Hours, until the night softened, until something small in him stirred. Over time, they healed together. Jonah began counseling, talking. Evelyn's designs got accepted by that studio. They held a small exhibition for local artists. Her work hung in that gallery window, soft lights illuminating the shapes she had pulled from her heart. She invited Jonah. He walked in quietly, saw his friend's dream shining. She caught his eye. He allowed himself to smile. But their journey wasn't over. A deeper challenge awaited. Success carries its own weight. As Evelyn's recognition grew, offers poured in. The pressure to conform, to compromise her vision, threatened to destroy what made her work honest. Some clients asked her to water it down. Friends said, You'll lose your voice. She negotiated. She fought. She lost a few deals. She chose authenticity over safety. Jonah, now stronger, started his own project, a community outreach for children who'd known loss, teaching them art and expression. He leaned on the lessons he'd learned. Pain can speak through creation. Evelyn became a mentor in it, guiding the children in painting, poetry, design. In the final scene years later, Evelyn stood at a podium in a packed auditorium in her adopted city. Painted on a giant screen behind her were images of her early sketches, flawed, raw, full of longing. She held Jonah's hand and addressed the crowd. Every blank page, every knockback, every moment you felt too small, that is where growth begins. The storm is not your enemy. It is the forge that shapes your spirit. And in the darkest nights, we must remember, the light we carry, no matter how faint, can illuminate the path not just for ourselves, but for those who follow. The audience rose, standing. Tears glistened, and Jonah whispered, "You saved me." She squeezed his hand and whispered back, "You did too." The message floated in the silence after the applause. Your struggle is not the curtain closing. It is the prologue to your story's greatest chapter. When the night threatens to swallow you, keep one spark alive. Let it grow. Let it kindle others. And trust that the storm is shaping you, not burying you.